Hello and welcome. I am Valerie Anichili, the Program Training Specialist within the Transportation Program Division. I will be showcasing the new functionality for submitting a survey request form. The benefit for implementing the survey request form includes providing consistency and accountability and the ability to track the progress of the survey. To start, let's go into TxDOTCONNECT. And the first thing I want to do is just to verify my security roles. So for this demonstration, I have Design Coordinator, the Project Manager Initiate, and the Right-of-Way Supervisor. Let's start by opening up our project. Now I already have one identified, and keep in mind this is for demonstration purposes only. Now instead of going over here to our administrative module under Forms Search, we're going to navigate over here to the left and go to our Workflow Forms and Documents. And of course we can find that by scrolling to our left navigation. Once we have it open, we're going to scroll down here to look at our list of forms. At the very bottom we can see the TxDOT Survey Request form. Now the form is going to be available on all project types. Now it opens up, and if we look here at the very top of the map, we can see our header, which is in this gray box. Most of the information here will auto-populate, and it includes the project ID and also the right-of-way project ID if it does have right-of-way. If not, it's going to have an NA for not applicable. Then we also have our district division along with our highway and our county. The form ID, which is just above it here, will auto-generate once we save or submit it. Then we also have our created by as well as our created date. And of course, once it's submitted, it's also going to have the submitted by and the submitted date. Now just above that, we see here where it says export as PDF. This is going to be available as a future enhancement because of the GIS attributes on the location map. Exporting it as a PDF after it's approved requires some additional work that our ITD partners are finishing up on. Then we have our location map here. This is our awesome GIS system that has the location of the project shown here for you. It's the exact same location map that we see under the project information. And of course, you can zoom in and zoom out, and you still are able to view any assets that may be in this area. You can also switch to the satellite view here if you need some additional data. It's also possible you could have a project already identified here with this orangish brown polygon, which we can actually see that there are two of them, which means that these are already defined and approved. So again, it's possible that you may have one or more shown here that's already approved. Now, as a user, I'm still able to come into this project and submit a new survey request form, even if I have others that have already been approved. And of course, you can also overlap your polygon as well if that's what you need to do. What's great is here you can actually define your boundaries for your survey. To do so, we click here on this little icon, and if we hover over it, we can see where it says draw a polygon, which is what we want to do to define our survey boundary. So when I click on it, we can see that it's now enabled, and I can go ahead and start to define my survey. Now the polygon can be redrawn as many times as necessary to capture the correct survey area. You can also draw an unlimited number of points on the polygon. So to complete, what we're going to do is just click once to get it started, to start a line. So click once and release, and then we're going to click again for the second point, and we can see our first line appears. We're going to click again to get our third point, and you just continue to click until you've got it defined. Now, in order to do the last point, you want to go ahead and double click. Okay, and now we can see that our polygon has been drawn in this teal outline. And again, it can be redrawn as many times as necessary to capture the correct survey area. You can also draw an unlimited number of points on the polygon. Now let me go ahead and clear it just for a second to show you a couple of other things. One of the things you want to keep in mind is that when you draw your polygon, you want to make sure that you don't do what's called intersecting lines, and I'll show you what that looks like. Again, to go ahead and start drawing, I'm going to click once, click again for my second point, and I can see my line appears. I'm going to do my third point, and this time I'm going to intersect by clicking up here above it, and we can see that they're now intersecting. If you do that, you're going to receive an error message, okay, when you try to save or try to submit. We can go ahead and clear that. The other thing I want to point out too is that you want to make sure that you are going in clockwise position when you're laying out your points. If not, you're going to be getting an error message again. So again, to start, I'm going to click once, click a second time to get my line, click a third time, and as many times as I need to until I get to my final point where I'm going to double click. So now that we have our new polygon, we can see that it showed up this nice teal color. The next thing we want to do is go down to our survey details. And we can see that we can multi-select from drop-downs as many services as needed. And for the very first one that we can see that an asterisk for survey services needed. And again, we're going to select as many as is needed. And of course, if we select something that we don't like, we can go ahead and click on X to remove it. Same thing for type of control. It's required. And it's possible that you may not yet know, or it may also be that it's not required. So we do have these other options here, not required, other, and also to be determined. So it's possible that as a right-of-way project manager, I may just not know at this point the type of control. And it could be too that when we meet up with the district surveyor, they can go in and edit this form as well. So this next one we've got is our survey. The next one that we have is our surface adjustment factor and also our metadata. These are optional. We can add information here as needed just for those that are going to be reviewing this form. Then we also have our right-of-way acquisition, which is also a required field. And again, if you don't need it, you can select not required, which is an option here. We also have other, and we also have to be determined as well. And again, I can multi-select. So I can enter in my estimated number of parcels. Under Design Construction Survey, this is also required, and I can multi-select here as well. And I can see that I've got a lot of different options, as well as not required and other. Now this next field, other requests or comments, it's not required, it's optional. I don't have that red asterisk next to it until I select other from one of my other drop downs up here. So for example, if I go ahead and choose other under our design construction, I can see now that other requests or comments becomes required. And the purpose for that is if you as a person submitting this form, whether a project manager or surveyor or someone at the district, if you aren't seeing the option that you need, you can select other and then write in your comments here. Okay? So for this example, when we selected other for design construction survey, you would be entering in here, why do you need the design construction survey? So comments here or other. Okay. Now, the thing I want you to keep in mind are these drop-down menus. They pull from a library within TxDOTCONNECT, and it's easy for us to update these. So if you don't see something in here, you can email the right-of-way applications help desk, and they can submit a ticket on your behalf. And once it's approved, they can actually add those to the library. So again, you'll enter in your comments here. Okay, it is required. And then you can also, once you've got that, you can put your date needed by. And we can go ahead and enter. Now, ideally, this is not the day of, right? You cannot select a previous date either. So if we try to go back, we're not able to do so. So we're going to go ahead and enter in our date. And this is the date that I need this by. At that point, we've got everything here that we need. And we can go ahead and either save the form or submit. For our purposes right now, we're just going to go ahead and save the form. So we've saved it successfully. Let's scroll up and see what we can see here with our workflow status. So let's walk through this. I've got my form that I've saved, and if I change my mind on that form, okay, and this is the one that we're referring to, the very top one here. I just saved it, and if I change my mind, I could actually click on the X, and to cancel it. And once I do that, it's actually going to ask me for a reason why I'm canceling this survey request form. Once I enter it, I would go ahead and click on the the red box here, and it would cancel the form for me. And we can see that I actually canceled one down here, and we can see that it was canceled, and we can see the comment that was entered in here by myself earlier. Okay, so that's for canceling if we needed to cancel it. The other one I wanted to show you was the third one here that we can see, and it says pending with district. So that means it's sitting with the Dallas district. The users that have the correct security role can approve it. And if I click here on the workflow actions, I can see who it's pending with, which is going to be our GIS reviewer, could be the design coordinator, could be the surveyor, also the right-of-way supervisor or the super user. Okay, those are the roles that can approve it. So the users that support the Dallas district and have that role, they're going to see it in their My Groups list, which is going to be on their dashboard on the home page. So I'm going to get into the workflow now as a district project manager or even as a right-of-way project manager. So to do that, let's go ahead and go to the home page, and we're going to look at the dashboard. Okay, we are now on the home page. Let me scroll down to My Group list. And what I want to look at is the very bottom one. I can see the project ID, I can see my form ID, the project name, also the task, which is our TxDOT survey request form, our district, who it was submitted by, the submitted date, and also the let date. And here at the very far right, I can see a little person icon, and it says assign up here. So this is where I'm actually going to be able to assign it to someone that can actually review it and approve it. And to do so, I'm going to go ahead and click on the person icon. I can go ahead and find the person that I need. Again, it's going to be those security roles that we've identified. And I'm going to go ahead and assign it to myself just so we can keep it in the process and you can see what happens to it. And once I've found that person, I'm going to go ahead and click Done. Now, as soon as I do that, it's going to change from my group list up to my task. And we can see that it says successful, and we can see now that it's showing up here under my task. And again, I can see the project ID, I see the form ID, the project name, the task, the district, who it was submitted by, and the submitted date. And the thing that's here now, if I actually needed to go back into the form, I can just by clicking here to go in and look at the information. If I want to go to the project, this is also a quick link to get me there as well. And once it's assigned to me, I can go ahead now and click on the plus sign, which is going to expand and show me my options. And now at this point, I can go ahead and approve it. I could return it or not approve it. Now, if I'm going to approve it, I'm just going to click here. I can add comments if I want to, and then I'll submit it. If I return it, I have to, it's required for me to add comments, letting the individual know why I am returning it and what corrections need to be made. And again, you can see that the submit button is not enabled until I actually add comments in here. And then I'd be able to submit it. Same thing for do not approve. I have to enter comments here in order for me to be able to submit it. Okay. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and approve it. And as I said before, if I wanted to go back into the form to review it, I can do that if I need to make some edits. So it's possible that as a district surveyor or as the GIS reviewer, and maybe I'm meeting with my right-of-way project manager, that submitted this form, I can come in here and add any additional information that I may need to. I can go into the metadata and enter data, for example. Okay. Also, if I wanted to, so let me go ahead, just for example, I can go in and make changes here. I can add some additional metadata. If there was some information that he wasn't sure of, he had put in here to be determined, we can go back in here and make those corrections and add that information. Or if I needed to redraw my polygon lines, I can do that now as well. Whatever it is that I needed to do. Let me go ahead and grab my form just in case I need that. Let me go ahead and close this and go back to our home page to my task here. Okay, so we'll go back here, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and approve the form. Okay, and go ahead and submit it. And we can see that it was successful. I'll go ahead and close that. Now that it's approved, I can come back up here and I can either go back into my project, search for it and find it and then look at the form, or I can come over here to the administrative form, go to my form search and select my form type, which is going to be the TxDOT survey request, form ID, and I did copy that. So now I can just copy that into the form ID field here. There we go. And do a search. And let's go ahead and open that. So now that we're back on our form, we can see that our form's been approved. My polygons turned that same orangish brown color. What I do notice here, though, is that once a form's approved, nothing is editable. I can't come in here. I can't change any of this information. It's read only. And that's where this export as a PDF at the very top here, where that's going to be really helpful, where I can come in here and just print this form. We just have issues right now on the back end with our GS team working on flattening the map and the attributes, so hopefully that will be available soon. What I do want to do is go back to our project just to do a real short recap. Let's go ahead and search for our project. Once we've got it, we'll go ahead and bring it back up. Navigate down to our workflow forms and documents. And of course, if you guys remember, we have our workflow statuses at the top. In order to actually find the TxDOT survey request form, we're going to look under our forms. And to open it, we just click on it, and it's going to open it up within the project. And we can see if there are any approved survey request forms. We can see those there in that orangish brown. And of course, once we fill out the information, and we can go ahead and either save the form or submit it. And remember, when you're drawing your polygon, that once you click on here, you're going to go clockwise, and you're going to click to get your first point and your first line started. And you're just going to click until you get all of your points defined. You're going to double click for your last point. And let me go ahead and close this to go back to my program page, my project page. And we can see here, once we actually save it or submit it, it's going to go into this workflow status. And we can see what's here already. We've got several different forms, and we can see that these are links that will take us directly to the form. It tells us what type of form it is, who submitted it, when it was created, and the status, which is really important. And then if it's anything beyond save, we can also see these workflow actions by clicking on the little checkbox here, and we can see what the status is and what approvals it's gone through already. Okay. And of course, if we needed to cancel something, we could go ahead and click on the red X as well. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show you before we end our demonstration, going back to our PowerPoint, I did want to bring up the emails just to kind of show you what that looks like. So for this particular one, if I have a TxDOT survey request form in my groups and it needs to be assigned, so in my district row, I'm going to go to my groups and assign it to a specific person, and we showed you that. Then once it's assigned to that person, they're going to receive an email, which is what we see here. It's just letting them know that there is a new survey request form that needs approval. So if I have the role, the surveyor, the GIS reviewer, design coordinator for that district, I'm going to receive this email notification. And again, a new TxDOT survey request form needs approval. And here's the form number. And then I can log into TxDOTCONNECT to complete it. This particular one, it says a new TxDOTCONNECT survey request form needs approval. So once it's approved, as the person that submitted the form, I'm going to receive this notification that my form was approved. And then for this example, I get that same notification, if it's been returned for corrections with comments, or it could be that I get an email that says that it's not been approved. So for each of these forms, an email notification is going to happen at each main stop in the workflow. And with that, this concludes everything that we wanted to cover in our demo of the survey request form functionality. I just want to thank you for attending the demonstration. Hope that you found it helpful, and definitely want to encourage you to use the job aid, which can be found in the Crossroads TxDOTCONNECT reference page. And if you have any other questions that can't be answered with the job aids, please reach out to the TxDOTCONNECT help desk at TxDOT TxDOTCONNECT at TxDOT.gov. And again, thank you.